Hi, today we've got Belinda from Huddersfield talking to us. Morning, Belinda.
Hi, okay.
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you, yeah.
That's good. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? When did you have your stroke and how are you coping now a few years after your stroke?
It'll be 5 years in July, and I was 47. It was an ischemic stroke, and physically, my arm recovered really quickly. I was left with my executive functions are affected, and I have extreme neuro fatigue and all the sensory overload, what have you. But I've adapted, and I think I'm doing pretty well, really, normally, and coping. And life's different, very, very different. But like I say, I've adapted. I have my own ways of doing things, and I think I still see improvements, but they're subtle improvements, but they always have been. So they're measured in months and years rather than weeks and months. But yeah, 5 years on.
Did it take you a while to sort of recognise the fatigue and how it came on and how you could deal with it, and just the acceptance of the fatigue, that it's there and it's not going to go away easily?
Yeah, definitely. It was a long, long time before I understood it, because I think with physical fatigue, when you've done something physical, you can understand why you feel like you do. But with the cognitive neuro fatigue, it's just a completely different ball game. It's not tired, it's not exhausted. It's when you basically start shutting down, your functions just start failing you. And to have that happen in the first place, it was frightening, because I didn't know what was happening. To understand what actually brings it on, that was another, because things that you don't realise, just a conversation can completely left me unable to function, and or the things to think about, the thinking things, the concentration things,
Yeah.
things like that, or watching telly, the things that you'd think of maybe that you do to relax, watching telly or listening to music or reading or something like that. Those are the things that bring it on for me. And just noise in general, just noise can completely wipe me out. And it did take a long, long time, but I think I've got a good grasp on it now. And my family, I'm lucky that my family and friends do as well. They recognise it and they understand what brings it on. So I do get a lot of support. But if I hadn't had that support, I think I'd have found it really a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, they find it hard to explain to their friends and family, or they don't understand. It's just finding the way to explain it to other people, because until you experience it, you can't understand it, I don't think. And it's like you said, little things in the background, excess noise and things. So you're trying to listen to a conversation you might be having with one person, but there's something chinking away in the background, and that becomes the prominent thing, not what the person's talking to you about. And it's whereas before you'd have coped with it all. We've all had, well, with having children, there's always noise in the house and what have you, and you can multitask and get on with it. But sometimes that now is just too hard for people to deal with it. But it's recognizing that that's normal for us. I think it's a big thing for stroke survivors. And it's if they're struggling with it, it's a good thing to come out and say, talk to us at different strokes, look at blogs you've done and stuff like that might give them some guidance.
Yeah,
what did you find was the best way when you started sort of knocking into your fatigue? What was the one thing you found was really good and helpful?
Hearing that I wasn't the only person. I get like a pressure in my, it's like a tight squeeze, like somebody's doing that inside my head with it, and that freaked me out for a long time. But somebody told me that's other people have explained that they get that as well, and definitely going on to the different strokes, the Facebook group, that was a game changer for me, because everything that I experienced, there's always somebody that can relate to it, and not just one person, a lot of different people. And people will talk about it really openly, which is good, because for a long time the only words that were described, the information that I found was tired, and that, well, this isn't tired, that doesn't even touch it. But because people are so open and will talk about it and are really willing to share their experiences, that was the biggest help for me, knowing that I'm not on my own, picking up tips, hearing what other people do, and then in turn I gradually felt like I could do the same. And I think when you're in the group, obviously everybody's different, and everybody has different effects from the stroke, but when there's something, a post comes up and you feel like you can help somebody, or just say how you deal with something, then it's that helps, because you can read all the different ways, and you might not be exactly the same as somebody, but it might be pretty much the same as somebody else. I think that was the biggest thing for me, definitely, that other people that experience it, and it's like you say, it's normal, and it is normal. It's just something that you've got to find your way around and adapt to.
Yes, and don't fight it. Don't try and you can't fight it. Like you say, you've got to try and find a way around it. And the group was a game changer for me as well when I first found it. Like you say, somebody somewhere on the group is experiencing something that you are. And, I'm not a big one to post on Facebook, but just reading the posts made me think, oh, it's not me. There's other people out there. This is what happens. This is what we have to get used to. Oh, that's a good idea. So and so says, try this and what have you. And it's definitely helped. So what's your household makeup during lockdown then? Who's at home with you?
My mum moved in because we had to. We both were going to be isolated for the 12 weeks. So mum's on her own normally. I'm on my own normally, and we just thought it would be better to be in the same place, because I rely on mum a lot for things, for a lot of things, and shopping and things like that. But because if we're both in the same place, then if my brother was doing shopping or anything like that, we're in one place. So we thought it would just be better to be in the same place rather than two opposite ends of town. So there's just me and mum at the moment.
So you've been able to keep each other company then?
Yes, but I think poor mum, I'd still have to spend a lot of time upstairs out of the way, because that's how I deal. That's how I manage fatigue. So first I was sort of trying to keep her company, I suppose, you know, but I've, that fatigue's been really tough. So, and Mum understands it. Mum sees it anyway, so she understands that I do have to go and, you know, stay out of the way quite a lot and just have that quiet time on my own, because I just can't manage. But what it has flagged up is how much I actually control my surroundings to manage it. Because I thought with not going out and not having all the sensory overload from outside, I thought I'd perhaps manage it better at home, but it's not been the case. It's just having somebody extra around, extra things going on, extra noise, extra conversation. Because even though I'm conversation wise, even when I'm here on my own, just an extra phone call in the day or an extra conversation that's not planned can tip it. So just these extra few minutes of conversation adding up over the day also tip it, which you sort of had to get used to that. But yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing okay, and my mum's brilliant. She really understands it. So I do feel bad having to still spend time out of the way, but that's that like we said earlier, that's how it is. That's what I have to do. So, but yeah, it's definitely wasn't expected to have the effect on fatigue that it's had. I think as well, because of what's going on, there's the anxiety of what's going on and in the world around us, and that's whether you know you're feeling anxious about it or not, it's something that's there. And I think emotions and things like that have a big impact on the fatigue as well, for sure. So I think that's perhaps part of it. And don't know, do you find that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the fact that your mum and you are together, and the fact that you're both shielding as well, you know, it saves you, although you might need to spend time apart because of the fatigue and everything, you're not spending time worrying about your mum, and your mum's not spending time worrying about how you're doing.
That was the other reason for doing it, so that we would, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're both in the same place at the same time, and that cuts down the worry, because it is a worry, and you know, there is so much going on just now. It gets everybody up and down. We all have good days and bad days at the moment, don't we?
Yeah.
What have you? Both sides in our family are up north, so you know, we're kind of used to having a long period of time where we don't see each other, but you can't help worrying at the same time, because the older generation or the younger generation with underlying health issues and what have you. So, you know, it does play a part in it, and it's a very strange time in our lifetime. You know, I think, you know, we could have never predicted it. And I think even when we look back on this period, we'll think, did that really happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's completely, yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and I think after a stroke as well, I think the changing with the changes like that, I've noticed if there are things going on the news, world events that, you know, like the attacks and things like that, maybe things like that have an effect as well. And I don't know if, I think it's about processing things, and the way that you process things is different, and that can have that in itself can have another effect. And I suppose that's what's happening now. There's so much, it's something that's been ongoing for so long that it's having an effect on everybody. So for those of us that struggle with processing things and emotions and things, anyway, I think it's quite normal maybe that we are feeling the way that we do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm waffling.
You mentioned, going back to your mum, you mentioned that she normally does your shopping. So How are you coping with the shopping in lockdown? What are you doing there?
We've well, the first couple of weeks, my brother did it for us, but that him and his family, they're all still working, so they're really busy, and they've got things, and we've been doing it online. And at first we couldn't get supermarket slots, so we found other places that we could get different, one for fruit and veg, one place for fish, and that was quite that's been quite difficult at times. That's been exhausting. And then we did get we managed to get a few. We've had a few supermarket slots, and we've done them, which is great. But it is exhausting. I sound like I've been on a night out drinking when I've finished, because I'm just slurry speech. So that's been something to get used to as well. I think I'll probably carry it on after, because when I do go to the supermarket, that's I don't go to the big ones, but even the little, I can still have those kinds of effect when I go, but at least I can do it in stages. I can add to my basket when I think I can do it over a few days online. So I'm definitely going to stick with that, I think, for most things anyway, for the bulk of things.
Yes, and I think that's definitely a good plan, the way shops are just now, because they've added to the processing. Well, the pandemic has added to the processing of queuing for the supermarkets, remembering the 2 meters, following the arrows up and down, which a lot of people have a problem with. I have to say, it drives me up the wall. And especially in a supermarket, because you know what it's like. You go off, you do your shopping, you think, oh, I forgot to get such and such. Well, you can't just go back and nip down that aisle because it's an up aisle. And if clothing shops are going to go like that, it's going to be a nightmare. So I don't know quite how that's going to work out after we've seen the queues for other shops opening this week and everything. It's going to be horrendous. But if you've got online shopping working for you, that is really good.
Yeah.
And like you say, if you've got your basket there and you get tired, you can save it and go back to it later. Or if, like me, you're constantly forgetting something, and you've got up to a certain time the night before to go in and change your basket, or take something out. So well done to you for conquering that. Something I haven't conquered, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, it's been okay. And it's quite exciting when it comes. I'm so sad, but we actually get quite excited. Oh, we've got this coming, chocolate.
Well, that's the only thing that's happening just now, isn't it? Delivery.
Yeah. And we wash everything as we bring it in as well. We wash everything that comes into the house. So it's like we're pulling things out of the bag. Oh, look, we got this while we're washing it down. It's quite an event.
So I know you've got a son and a daughter. How are you keeping in touch with them? Because they don't live at home anymore. They've flown the nest, haven't they?
They have, yeah. My daughter's in London, so we text, FaceTime, and phone calls, which is normal for us. And my son, same again, text, phone calls, and what was the other one I said? This
Zoom.
Yeah, on FaceTime. Yeah. I've seen it. He did come last week, and I saw him through the window, which was nice. So close, as close as we've managed, since it started. But yeah, it was nice to see him through the window. But yeah, I think I'm glad we've got FaceTime now. because, well, whenever years ago we wouldn't have had that, I think that would have been a lot harder for people, wouldn't it? If you can't see them.
If it had happened when we were their age,
yeah,
we wouldn't have had
no.
the communication, the contact, the
no.
Work would have been completely different for those of us that have kept working and everything. You just couldn't work from home. There'd be no way to do it, and what have you. So, the internet, that wasn't around when we were young. I'm trying to think now.
No, it wasn't, definitely not. It wasn't. I don't think even when my two were, well, no, when they were in the teens, it was just sort of starting off. I think it was MySpace, but it wasn't like it is now. Definitely not. It certainly wasn't the everything that they've got now. So that's even within the last 10, 15 years, isn't it? Yeah.
Quite scary, isn't it?
Mm.
Do you normally attend a different strokes group?
Yeah, I go to the local and we meet once a month in the evenings, and we're a small group, but it's a social group, so we sit and have a chat, and we've been out for meals occasionally together as well. So we've not, obviously, I think it was January or February, the last one, but we have a WhatsApp group, so we keep it. We have a WhatsApp group anyway where we can dip in and out of, so we keep in touch that way. But yeah, it'd be nice to get back to see them when we can. So hide still.
But at least you're keeping in touch with one another. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're all on Facebook as well. So most of us are on Facebook, I think. So yeah. I do. It's really good actually. Like you say, everybody just everybody's different, but we all get each other, and it's a nice little group. It's a friendship group as well now, rather than just a support group, which is nice.
That's good to hear. So have you taken up any hobbies while you've been stuck at home?
Not new ones, but I do colour a lot. That's relaxing. I've made some. I had some beads at Christmas, which I've made some decorations with, and I've ordered some new beads. I've just got some new beads which I'm going to start doing, making beading. That's quite therapeutic, and it's one of those things. If I go wrong, I can just undo it and start all over again, rather than having something ruined. So I suppose that's quite a new one. I've ordered some beads and some paint to go with them. So that's something that I'll be trying. But yeah, I love my colouring. That's relaxing. I find that really relaxing.
I don't think we ever lose that urge for colouring from when we're little.
No. But I used to do it in school with some of the children, and it was for that reason, to sort of a calming, relaxing activity. And I used to do it with them, and we'd just sit and chat. And since my stroke, I've found that it's one of the only things that I can do that doesn't tire me. And I think I can quite lose myself in it, which is nice. It's all there for me just to, and that's what I do it for, relaxation. And if I'm stressed about something, it just clears my head. So that's why I like that. Yeah.
That sounds like a really good tip for everybody. Actually, I'm quite thinking of. I'm liking it now.
There's some lovely. There are all sorts of colouring books. I like flowers. I don't like colouring fish. I don't know why. There's certain things I just don't like colouring, but I like colouring flowers. And I don't like colouring people. But I don't know why. But there are so many different adult colouring books that that are just that are out there at the moment. I think it's a good way to
And you can order them all off the internet as well, so they're
Yeah.
you can get them at home just now and everything. So yeah, that's definitely a good excuse for sitting colouring. I used to like to do it in work as well.
I can't do both now, but
oh dear. So what are you looking forward to most once you can go out and about again, and once maybe things are open and available a bit more? Do you have any hankerings for anything?
to see my son and daughter and just be able to give them a hug. That's obviously I can't wait for that. Absolutely can't wait for that. But I said it as a joke, but it's not really as a joke. I'm just I'm looking forward to walking round to the little tiny co-op and actually looking on the shelves and buying something, I don't know, ice cream or something like that. Just something really simple like that, because before this, that's something that I can do it, but I'd built up this last 12 months doing it more often. I was doing it more often, and that's how my progress works. If I do something, it's being able to do it more often. That's the thing. So that's probably one of it's a bit sad, really, isn't it? What to go up and get something off the shelf, but that for me, that, and seeing my friends and just being able to go out and see friends and just, I mean, it's just so many things, aren't there? There's just so many things that you and I think I was quite used to being quite isolated anyway, because that's how that's over the last 5 years I spent a lot of time at home and not always able to go out and do things anyway. So I'm quite used to it, but this is obviously very different because it's everybody's in the same boat, and even if I do feel like I can go out now, I can't, because, well, everything's shut. So just having things open and just things being back to normal will be lovely, and I think it'll just be really nice just to do anything, really, won't it?
I think it's all the little things we take for granted that, you know, normally we don't realise how important they are to us, like your little trip to the co-op and things like that. It's just being able to do it and do it when you want to do it, kind of thing, that had been taken away from us. So we'll all get back to it one day, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we will eventually.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me today, Belinda.
Oh, thank you. It's been lovely to chat with you.
Oh, that's great. We'll all be rushing out to buy our colouring books now and our felt tips. Felt tips or pencils? What do you colour with?
Pencils for me.
Ah.
I just find them more relaxing than pens. That's just me. And the supermarkets have got them as well, if you can't get any from anywhere else.
And you're less likely to go over the lines as well. You've got to remember not to go over the lines.
Yeah. That shows what kind of day it is. If I'm tired, then I look at it later and think, God, that's gone all over.
You can just rip that one out and throw it in the bin.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Belinda, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.